Hello and welcome to another episode of Fulham Chronicles. Hello, Melinda.
Hi, Zara.
Right, what a fantastic celebration we had for our 1 year anniversary.
It was amazing, and what a bonus with the weather.
Talking about celebrations and everything else, who do we have today in the studio?
So today in the studio we have Charlie Ince-Green, who is the founder and managing director of Beaufort Green. Welcome.
That sounds very
Welcome in the
important.
studio.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Well,
having
you
me.
are for today in the middle there.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure.
Is this your first ever podcast?
First ever podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. But you know what? We're going to be nice and kind with you. We usually are. But let's talk all about why did you choose the career?
Yep.
And how did you get into it?
I always was obsessed with property. I think lots of people, nobody will ever turn around and be like, I wanted to be an estate agent. I think through my own trial and errors, ended up becoming an estate agent reluctantly, but then just kind of fell in love with the relationship building part of things. And fell in love with Fulham as a whole, really. And just the two married quite well together. And
Why
here we are
Fulham?
today. Why Fulham? I was born in Chelsea and Westminster Hospital and spent some early years here, but then moved out to Buckinghamshire with my family. But I'm obviously massively biased, as we all are, but Fulham and Parsons Green, I think, just really has everything that you could possibly need, yeah? We're super
I
close
agree.
to town still, but we still get that villagey feel. And now, more than ever, I'm really kind of realising how good of a community we've got.
Well, just so I can do what Melinda always says, this is like a little urban village, isn't
It is, and it's especially fantastic because I was just talking to Dana, the audio engineer here, especially when the sun's shining.
Especially when the sun's
Exactly.
shining.
It feels like a
the green
showing
and-
off.
I know.
It was a beautiful
I mean, it is the
area.
best city in the world when the sun's shining, I think.
So we know now why Fulham,
Yeah.
and we know now why the New King's Road.
Yeah.
You're just in the middle of everything,
Yeah.
I shall assume. So what did you do to be where you're at today? So what before?
Yeah, so I was very lucky that I had very good bosses within the industry from early on, and I ran one of the corporate competitors in the town for my whole career. I've only ever been based in Fulham and Parsons Green. A lot of
So that's a big thing.
Yeah, it's been a
Like,
massive bonus.
You're networking.
Yeah, it's just here, and the business has been built off the back of those contacts and those relationships and referrals from people. So yeah, I think it was kind of when you get to know a place really well, stick to it. Lots of people change locations all the time, but no, that's something. When I look back, was probably wasn't out of choice, but yeah, definitely something which has benefited us massively.
I agree.
So 10 years in the business.
10 years,
Very
nearly
sort
10
of-
years, yeah.
Yeah, and very much specialising
feel old.
round here. This is
Yeah.
your era. This
This
is
is
your
my
patch.
stomping ground.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
And then what made you think, right, I want to be independent and do my own thing?
I think just a desire to do a bit more, and I kind of just fell out of love.
Can I, sorry for interrupting, can you please try and think what is the more? Because what we discussed at the beginning is people buy from people.
Yeah.
As in, we all know what estate agents are, and they're not the most loved.
No, they're
People,
not.
stories are unlimited.
Yeah.
But, what are you bringing new? And what was that you didn't find in a big corporation that you have wanted
Yeah.
to do when you have your own?
I think we wanted to make sure that we could provide a better service than what people will typically expect from their local estate agent. Okay. Unfortunately, the model of a lot of the corporates is to hire staff very young and relatively inexperienced and coach them in a way that they do things the way that they want them to do, which I was very lucky to be a part of that. But we want to have experienced staff doing everything from start to finish. I'm probably the only business owner or director in the town who's still out doing viewings 7 days a week with our clients as well. Whereas a lot of them, you might come and meet me to come and value your property, but then you're not going to see me again. So it's really trying to provide that whole level of service. I don't know if we'll be able to do that forever. Hopefully as we grow, I might not have the time to be doing viewings every day anymore, but for the time being, that's our
I think
kind
it's
of
very
USP.
important, isn't it? Like everybody goes into places where the boss is there,
Yeah.
or the person that represents the company is there, and I think it's something to appreciate because everybody wants to spend less time working.
Of course.
But I believe when you do what you love,
it doesn't feel like working, does it?
Yeah.
No.
I think me and Sam.
So let's talk a bit about Sam. Obviously, we don't have him today.
No.
But what does Sam do, and what, so when people come in and see your beautiful, like gorgeous space, well done
Yeah.
with
Thank
what you
you very
guys done
much.
there.
Thank you.
Who do we see there? So obviously we see you, we now
Yeah.
know.
We see me. Sam's there. So Sam, I'm super lucky. Me and Sam met each other when we were about 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Playing rugby at our local rugby club back in Marlow. And we're friends ever since, in the same social group of boys. Grew up together. And then about 2 years ago, Sam decided to come down into London and was working for one of the competitors in Fulham. And I came up with the idea of launching the business, and slowly but surely convinced him to come in from day one. And he is an absolute godsend. He's my right arm. I can just leave him to just do everything. He works tirelessly. I think we got to about February, and I think we'd had 5 Sundays off in total since we
Well,
launched
I've
the
heard
business.
from someone, Chinese whispers, but still heard, and you can now say if it's right or wrong. But since you've opened, you have done some brilliant sales.
Yeah, I think we're 57 sales for the first
Wow.
6 months. Which,
Oh, that's huge. And again, that's
Yeah.
trust.
yeah, and I
Um,
think, I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds, I'm pretty happy with
Well,
it.
but yeah,
Take a
that's-
moment,
yeah, I
take
know,
a
take
moment.
Come
No,
on,
57
Let it
sales.
sink in.
57 sales.
Yeah.
Like even for like you've just opened.
Yeah.
I do. We now know that you're not new to the area, and people
Yeah.
know your face and everything. But
Yeah.
Again, going back to not everybody likes estate agents. For somebody to have gone independent
Yeah.
and still have 50 plus
Yeah.
sales, and we all know they're not small cheap houses in here.
No.
So that means they've trusted you with something,
Yeah.
Was that always the dream to be independent then? Or when was the moment where you thought, right, I've done 10 years now and I think I can do something better on my own? Or what was the moment? Was there a moment, or was it?
I think it was always going to happen. I think I just got to a time in my life, I turned 30 in February, and it was kind of like, it now probably makes the most sense to do it. So I always thought I'd have my own estate agency. I was saying it to Sam the other day when we were walking home. I was like, I knew one day I'd have an estate agency off. I was like, I didn't think we'd have one that looks that cool in that location, like in Parsons Green. Like,
So
do you know
it's
what
you
I
and
mean?
Sam,
Yeah.
and who else?
So we've now got
not alienate him.
Mac Burnell, who's just joined us from Savills in Richmond, but he used to be
Okay.
at a corporate agency in the town as well. Heaps of experience, really young, hungry guy, fits us perfectly. He's been a dream. And we've got Grace, who is our PA.
Also, your small team. So
Small team.
even more to say congratulations for
Yeah.
all of those sales.
Well, it was only 2 of us. It was only me and Sam working out of our living room until January.
Oh, wow.
And then I was kind of like, we probably need to start acting like a proper business. So then we got a little office down in the Pavilion Club. And then we brought Grace on board just to help us with our admin side of things. But it's really like, we were looking back at the pictures the other day where we'd moved into this flat that we were renovating at the same time. There was like a painter painted on the wall, and just us like with these phones on the desk. But that was like 7 months ago.
It's always the way, isn't it? But it goes by so fast, and suddenly
Yeah.
cut to last week, you've opened the doors,
Yeah.
and it
I know,
does
it was a
look
shame
gorgeous.
we couldn't meet yours.
Well, it was
clashed, didn't we? We
it
had a
was on the
clash of
same day that we were
parties.
both celebrating something
So, I
big and
know.
huge, and a huge milestone. But we're going to make sure that next year, when you celebrate 2 years, we're not
Yeah.
going to do it in the same day.
Agreed. We'll make
But the
sure we
colours,
chat.
I love the colours as well.
Thank you.
And
Beautiful.
that's quite good, isn't it? Like you've got green in your name, Parsons Green
yeah,
in the
there's
branding.
a lot of green going. But, and then I think the pink really soft. From an industry which is quite unapproachable, we've tried to really soften the brand. And I think we're lucky that we're in a community where that seems to have really resonated with them. And people want to. We're in a cool, trendy area. They want to attach themselves to something that's hopefully a little
Me
bit
and Melinda
cooler
were
and
talking
trendier.
about that.
But it really stood out because I was just walking
Yes.
around the area and I was like,
And you had that
Beaufort
beautiful
Green, Beaufort Green,
old
what's
car
this?
in
Yeah, I
front.
know. We were so lucky. That was just a developer of ours called us in the
Was
day, and
it?
they were like, "Do you want me to
Have
park
you
our
seen?
green?"
no, I
They,
didn't see.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
really
do
cool.
tell. Because Melinda doesn't know.
No.
So yes, like one of our previous client, great guy, just called us and he was like, "I've got a green Jag. Do you want me to park it outside the front of the shop?" I
But
was like,
old green Jag, guys.
"Yes."
Yes, please.
So we did that. We had an ice cream truck come down. One of my best friends has got an ice cream business, so we thought we'd get that down, and obviously had it in Hallie's, where we all first met actually
Nice.
for the first time, which we all love Hallie's.
Well, that's where me and Melinda have met for the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And yeah, it was great. We were super happy. Some sore heads the next day, but we enjoyed it.
Well, at the same time, you you deserve that for everything that you guys have done. And I think it's a good thing that more and more estate agents are going independently. I mean, Melinda was chatting, about her endeavors with estate agents. And I think one of the things
Probably
that
some
she
bad
has...
tales to tell.
Yeah,
I had a great one the first Fulham house, not so
Okay.
good the second. And I think...
We've got a good one for the next house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But you did say that, because, Charlie obviously doesn't know about our conversation, but you did say that it all comes to being experienced, and people are sending all of this unexperienced.
I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue,
okay.
I think for me, the issue, which I actually still grate, I won't say I hold on to things, but it does still grate, is not actually being made to feel, if you're selling, that you're the client. It's the person who's buying your property.
Yeah, this is good feedback for you to know.
Yeah, really good.
That's not how...
You're paying the fee at the end of the day.
That's why, I thought it's down to experience, because you do go around, I'm not going to say the name, but, you do go around and you see these massive offices and they're all with, 18, 19 years old. And obviously we all need to start from somewhere, but don't give a client that has a 3, 4, 5 million pounds house or, whatever,
It's just their biggest asset, isn't it? And I think... let's get them experience. There's ways of doing that, which doesn't mean that they're doing a second viewing from somebody who's shown interest in your property, and then you've got the guy who's been doing it for 6 weeks. Is that giving you the best opportunity of getting your property sold? It's probably not. But no, service standard's the most important thing. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say I've always had the same foresight that I've got now, where you're always thinking about your relationships and moving forward.
And now it's yours.
And also, as you get older, I think you realise that is what's fundamentally important. I think we're so lucky at the moment where I like to think, at least, a vast majority of our sellers are probably more friends. I could have a pint with half of our sellers.
So I was going to say, to add on, is that exactly. So I'm on my second property in Fulham.
Yeah.
Then I'll likely sell this one at a point. So if you've got a good relationship and it's worked really well, they're going to come back.
Exactly.
So the fact that you're not actually treating that person as a valid customer and client and kind of really hand-holding, saying, don't worry, we've got this, we'll sort it for you. When it's a stressful time, everybody knows, wasn't it? Something like divorce, moving property, death, or whatever, they're really stressful times. So.
And I think, but it does come down to that relationship. And if you've got that relationship and if you trusted me which is a word that it gets chucked around our industry a lot, but if we've got a really good relationship and you do trust me, if there is something which comes up, you'll take my advice.
Yeah.
And it won't be seen as I'm not acting in your best interest because you know that it is coming from the right place. So as long as you've got that relationship, then you'll be okay from the outset,
I
really.
think it's like a rat race. And I did say this, when I had my experiences with estate agents in Fulham. It's everybody wants to have the best commission.
Yeah.
And there are so many of them. And the bosses
super
are literally like
competitive.
going on in, you're in New York, like it's the Wolf of Wall Street. Right, guys, we've got this amount of properties. Now the race is on.
Yeah.
Right. So, of course, the 19, 18 years old, they can't wait to go to God knows where or have pints at the Sloane Pony. And they just think, I need to do this commission by Friday, into rentals, or I need to do this into selling, if I sell my first one, the boss is going to, it's all about how the boss sees you rather than, you represent a company, a brand. So I need to make sure as the boss that you are paid accordingly. So it's not a rat race of survival of who shows off that I think in my perception of what I've had, I think that's what I've experienced in Fulham.
I think I've got to try and find a way to make sure that whilst we are the size that we are now, it's quite easy to sustain. But as we do grow, that we keep that same level of service, because I don't want to end up becoming like everyone else from a detriment from our own success. Hopefully we're in a position where we do become bigger, but we want to pay our staff we're paying them more than the industry average at the moment, a lot more, because I'd rather have less members of staff, have a close-knit team, like a little family, and they get paid more as a result of there being less of them, but they work super bloody hard and they're very good at their job.
And I think they will appreciate you more.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
if you know they've...
You treat your staff well, they're going to stay. Right? So it's
Yeah.
a pain recruiting people and finding people.
100%.
It sucks up so much time and energy.
Yeah.
So if you've got people who work really well, you want to keep them. So in Fulham, looking at the market now, what's your sort of little mini report on kind of what's happening?
Oh,
what
wow.
Wow, okay.
Well, because I always think
We
Fulham...
must be very careful.
I know. No, not in like... I'm not, you don't have to come up with loads of stats.
Of course.
But you'll know your stuff, should know your stuff.
Fingers crossed.
I always think that Fulham's a pretty safe bet, having lived here for quite a long time, that things obviously can go up and down, but on the whole, it's pretty steady Eddie, kind of consistent, because like what you said at the beginning and what we all feel about, and I think it was somewhere in your website, I looked at a deep love of Fulham, which we all share. But, you know, there are still things like, things are going down. Obviously, everything that's happening in the States, cost of living, inflation, the States having an impact on everything. Kind of what's your take on things?
I mean, I think if anything, frustratingly, Fulham's slightly too stable over the last 10 years.
I feel the same.
We literally haven't really seen a price change in the last 10 years, really and truly. We had the peak of the market in Fulham and Parsons Green was 2014, 2015. If anything, we're a little bit back from then, unfortunately. We have peaks and troughs. We haven't had a great, amazing market for a long time. If your agent's telling you that the market's amazing, they are being a little bit dramatic.
I love how very nicely you've put that there.
I mean, look, the great thing is that we are in a town which is super transactional. Yeah, we're very lucky where we can a lot of people can afford to make the change in their life that they want to do so. But it's a very good, safe bet, yes. Like regardless of macroeconomics and regardless of what else is happening, there'll always be a demand to be here. Parsons Green in particular does offer that element of villagey feel, super safe and secure, touch wood, I feel all the time. Like we never really have any concern from that perspective. So I think there'll always be a demand. We've seen a lot of people coming from that would very much be set on being Chelsea buyers previously who are actually now got a preference on Parsons Green. I mean, with the benefits of Jesse's house and all the other stuff that we've now got going on in Parsons Green, like, I mean, I'm biased, but I'd rather be here, I think, than be kind of Kings Road.
This takes me to a very good question. So if, you know, everybody comes to Parsons Green and, you know, people love it. When you're doing these transactional, you know, houses, do you find more people moving from an area of Fulham to another area than people coming from outside Fulham into Fulham? Yeah, we have lots of transactions, people staying in town. Yeah, people don't want to leave.
You don't see people buying in Fulham and then moving to Putney very often. Like it's kind of like they're set on being this side of the river. You do get quite a lot of people coming from south of the river and wanting to come over north, especially the younger demographic who are currently in Clapham, Battersea, for example, and then they come and buy a house over here. We get a lot of people down upsizing from flats in Chelsea, for example, and coming and purchasing a house over here. But it's quite an aspirational area, I think, isn't it? So there's always we still get a lot of people coming either back in from the countryside after they moved out in the last 10 years, and a lot of second homes still. A lot of people still want a bolt hole in London, and Fulham seems to be one of those areas of choice.
Great transport links as well.
Would Fulham be a good investment, you would say? So, for example, if somebody would have a flat in Putney or Battersea or whatever not, and they would want to purchase here, do you think the market would go up so they would actually look at it as an investment? Or do you think it will just be...
Honestly, I'm probably talking myself out of work here, aren't I? But... you're going to go get a nice 3.5-4% yield on something, but you're not going to, if you go and do work to something, I think that's where the money's to be made now if you go and renovate something. But that's tight as well because building costs are so astronomical.
Tell me about it.
She's going through it
right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But you'll end up with a beautiful, perfect home.
But it's scary because you just see all this money flying out, and it's sort of like, it's a long game.
Yeah.
But you know what I loved? You know what I loved when you moved, and I think, you know, you're living in a beautiful place in the house, you know, as you saw the potential. But when I went and I saw the house, she was like, oh, this is just the beginning. He's going to look like this and like this. And it's that excitement.
It is exciting. I do love
Let's
it.
look at the positives.
I'm super positive about it. I think it's got great bones immediately. When I walked in, I knew it.
Yeah. You do get that feeling.
You do.
It hates me as an estate agent. And actually my partner the other week, we were out looking for a flat for her to buy, and she kept on banging on to me about this feeling. But I'm starting to understand it now.
It's
so
true.
I look at stuff so commercially from a property perspective. But I get
It's
what
good
you
you're
mean.
together in that perspective. She can see the details and you can see that we're making money. We're like, we can make more.
Yeah, exactly.
It is true. You do get that gut feeling, which was actually the one with the estate agent that sold my house. So I was like, you get this rapport, which I hadn't had before when we sold our first property in Fulham. And it comes up saying, so-and-so didn't like it because of da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, I used to be in PR. And I go, why would you keep that as an internal document?
Yeah, do not share that with me.
Don't share that with me.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned it. I remember.
That's my home.
I think
I've
it's
lived
good.
in for 20 years.
Look, I think it's really good to give honest feedback. I think you
course.
have
I
to
didn't
do
like
that.
your carpets.
But
or I didn't
sometimes
like your...
I'm probably guilty of it well
emotions.
still. Like sometimes that's someone's home.
Yes, it's
like and people are really house proud, and it's a bit of a, and they should be, and it's a bit of a
people
juggling
gave
act
birth
sometimes.
in that living room, guys. No, but you're laughing, but you go
No,
to
of
someone and
course.
say that this is rubbish. It's emotional.
And I think it's easy to forget about that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think
when you're looking commercially.
Yeah, I think we've got the benefit at the moment where we're so emotional about the business still at this
Of
current
course,
stage.
as
So
you
like
should
we
be.
may be trying to remember that a bit more. But yeah, I think best in class stuff and like the work that you're doing on your place, stuff like that, it's still a smart investment.
We can just say that houses got feelings, guys.
Houses have feelings.
Trying to feel like whoever lived in there has given a part of themselves to this house.
I'll start putting that on the descriptions.
Yeah.
Got a great feeling.
Well, it's got a great
Might
feeling.
be a bit ambiguous.
It might be.
Yeah,
You might be just looked at as, oh my goodness me, we need to go to these guys. They're very holistic into selling their houses.
There you go.
Well, it could be a USP.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
So in terms of areas as well in Fulham,
Yeah.
because I also think, sort of being a long-term resident myself, there's some places that you think, oh, I would have thought that this area would have gone up, kind of, or changed a lot more in the last 10, 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think everything is pretty much consistently in the last 10 years since you've been involved stayed the same, or do you go,
No, I think we've seen...
oh, there's Munster Village is really hot right now, or...
I think we've seen real shifts, especially over the last couple of years.
What's the hot cross bun?
Well, I personally really like, and I don't know whether we've seen the price changes there just yet, but the little pocket of Wandsworth Bridge Road at the moment where there's...
Oh, interesting. That's where
all
Melinda
the
moved from.
Where there's all the coffee shops on the corner.
Yeah.
And they've now like pedestrianised it slightly with the...
Hazelbury, kind of
Yeah,
Hazelbury.
like that Hazelbury pocket. There's a lot more happening there than there was 5 years ago. Yeah. So for me, I think that part of town's got a bit of growth to go still. Prime roads in Parsons Green have outperformed the rest of the market.
Really?
And I
Even
think-
the alphabet streets?
Yeah,
And around
Alphabet
the
Streets,
park.
we saw a great shift in Alphabet Streets just post-COVID. We saw a really big shift on Alphabet Streets because suddenly the shift wasn't transport links, suddenly it was garden, river location. That's maybe fallen off a tad now.
I've never thought about that. People being stuck in their flats.
But I will take a house on Doneraile Street all day long.
Oh, yeah.
That's my dream road.
An alibi.
They're
like
the best roads,
every
I think.
time, like being there for so long, I was just nearby. Looking at those roads, it feels like you're in America. But they have palm
It's just the
trees.
width. It's the width as well. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So yeah, but I mean, prime Parsons Green, I think is just getting primer.
Is it not because you are there, guys?
Well, yeah,
Is
now
it?
we're
This
here as well. We've got to
happens.
add a little bit
We
of
just made it
tax on top
primer,
of
greener,
it.
pinker, and better.
Exactly. But no, look, I think we're very lucky where the vast majority of the town is thriving, really.
Okay. And then in terms of, you just sort of touched on it a bit in terms of a favourite street.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a particular, because I'm like you, I mean, I don't work in business, but I absolutely love property.
What's your
And-
favourite street in Fulham, Melinda?
Well, there's lots of streets that I do love, but I was thinking actually more of asking Charlie the question of a particular house. Like, is there, because I've got a couple of houses that I just go, I wish I could get inside and have a look around.
Have you got a favourite house in Fulham?
So did you know the vicarage on Parsons
that's just
Green?
sold.
Has it just sold? It was for sale.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, the vicarage.
Yeah, the
imagine that.
vicarage. Yeah.
For a pretty cheap price as well, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And now it's not going to be a vicarage anymore.
No,
someone's
that's
it's
gonna be a house.
private.
Someone's going to have a house that size on the green.
Talk about prime
No.
Parsons Green
Yeah,
address.
that is
Are
Parsons Green.
they a celebrity? You've got no idea.
No idea,
Oh my
unfortunately.
goodness me.
That would have been one of them, probably.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful house on the bottom left-hand side of Broomhouse Lane. It's called
that's
something
my-
Villa. It's like a
That's my
double-fronted white
favourite.
house.
That's my favourite.
That would be a mega house.
That is beautiful.
There's also a couple double-fronted on Doneraile at the end, or on.
The vicarage on Doneraile as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that vicarage is stunning.
I always thought Ross, lucky. I would like a vicar there.
Oh yeah, I've met Ross.
Yeah, he's wonderful. So he does a lot for the community. We should get him on a podcast.
Yeah.
But leaving that on the side, that house there is another,
Stunning.
vicarage. We are so lucky to have those size houses in Fulham still.
Yeah.
I'm terrible. I'm an obsessive. I get on Google Earth.
Really? I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
know
Like,
this about you.
I need an aerial view of
Where
that.
would you?
Oh, where is yours? Come on, we need to know.
Where's yours then?
I really like it, actually. And then I actually met the person who did own it at one point. I love the Turret House in Fulham Park. I always call it the Turret House in Fulham Park Gardens.
On the court, yeah.
On the corner. I think
Beautiful.
that's absolutely beautiful with
Trying to
surrounding.
think, where is that?
That's one of my favourites. I love it.
Well, we've got
Pizza Express kind of around the corner down that
Yes.
way. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
We've got some beautiful,
Yeah, we're very lucky.
Does the park affect the price?
Parsons Green.
Or Bishops or
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, being between,
I
I
heard
love
these before.
I love the roads between Ilbrook Common and Parsons Green. I think for me, they're up there as well. They're pretty special, like being between there and Bishop's Park as well. But yeah, I think as close as you can get to greenery is always a benefit.
You know which house I just remembered? You know the Priory House, the one in Bishop's Park, the one that
A Prior Bank.
Oh,
the Prior Bank.
Yeah.
That was someone's house, guys.
Yeah, that's
I
not
know.
too bad. It's not too shabby.
Yeah.
I can deal with
We
that.
just need to fight Church of England for it.
Yeah.
But, leave that on the side. There is something we always do with our guests, and you are no exception. We're going to ask you an on-the-spot question. Melinda, do you want to start?
No, you can go first. I'm grappling with two. I can't decide which one.
Right. So obviously, without being biased or whatever, but let's say that Fulham would have been overly crowded, and you would have been told that there is no market, for you to open an estate agent here. What's the first place that will come into your head, and you would have moved your business there to?
Outside of Fulham and Parsons Green.
Outside. So let's say Fulham and Parsons Green
It's gone.
is gone.
Okay.
People are not wanting you. They say there's so many of you. We want you to go. Where would
It's
you
a tough
go?
question. I'd probably go back home, if I'm honest.
Oh, really?
St Marlow in Buckinghamshire
Oh.
and open up there.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
No?
I thought you would
Just said-
say, I don't know,
I don't mind Wimbledon
London
Village
or
either.
like
Wimbledon
Hampstead
Village is quite
or-
cool.
Wimbledon Village is quite cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Hampstead or, I would have thought, he would
I'm
definitely
a West
choose.
Londoner.
Yeah.
Like
That's so funny. Once someone's West
really
Londoner,
tricky to
always.
be like, I'm gonna move to North. Like I love Islington.
That's why I said
I will
bias.
never move there. Like I am. It's just. I think it's
Interesting.
really tricky once you're a part of London to.
My daughter said the same thing. So she's still living at home, saving. And she just said, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I just only want to live in Fulham.
Yeah, it's
and
hard,
she just,
isn't it?
I know it's so hard. Which before I go into an on-the-spot question would be a question like, what would you say to young people? Is it an impossible dream?
I don't think it's an impossible dream. I think you really need to be careful to make a smart investment because unlike the generations before us, you can't just buy once you do manage to get yourself in a position to buy something where you're just going to make money on it. Okay, gone are the days where you double the value every 10 years. So I just think be really smart, try and add value where you can. It's not rocket science. Like try and look at the sold prices on the road. Try and buy the ugliest house for the cheapest price. It might take you 2 years to get to
Stop
kind of.
saying that your house is gorgeous.
No,
That's what she always used to
is,
say.
That's
to
the
me.
best thing you can do.
Yeah,
Buy the
exactly.
ugliest house
See
on the best street.
potential.
Like
Yeah.
that is the best
Yeah.
thing you can do, and try and add some value, and keep on upsizing. I think I wouldn't have been able to have done the business if I hadn't done that from the start. And I think that's the only way we can because it's just gone are the
That's
days.
very, very good.
Good advice.
It does, it does.
But that's if you can find a way to purchase it in the first place.
Exactly. But what would you say? No, this is, to go forward from Melinda's very good question. 3 steps. What would you say to the younger generation if they do they need to get a good job to be able to buy, or do they need to save enough to buy, like the 10%?
Look, but the vast majority of people can get 5 times lending. Whether you want to do that at current rates is another thing. But I think you got to focus on earning well fundamentally to start off with. And then it's a roughly a 10%. You can get 5% mortgages, but you probably want to stay away from them. So it's scraping, begging, borrowing, stealing 10%. But you get that done at an early age. There can't be anything smarter than getting on the ladder early on. Because if you get into later down the line, it's just an uphill struggle really from there.
Because I've had somebody, in the family, we've had this conversation. Obviously, I said I'm not in the industry, I don't know, but you do pay the 10%, right? And what other costs are the youngsters facing after?
When they're acquiring stuff?
Yes, because I know the stamp duty.
Yeah,
obviously.
So stamp duty, we've obviously seen an increase in that now for first-time buyers and everyone across the board. So stamp duty is a sizable amount.
Even your first house?
Yeah, even your first house. I mean, a first-time buyer in Fulham will probably look to spend between, it sounds absurd, between £500,000 and £600,000. They're probably going to look at between £10,000 and £15,000 worth of stamp duty on top of that. Legal fees circa 2,500, surveys 1,200 quid.
So it's a very good 20.
That's 20 grand cash that you've got to have on top of your 10.
Yeah.
So it's no small.
It isn't. That's why I'm saying we are living in a bubble, guys.
Yeah, we are. And but I think just if you can get yourself there, just you've worked so hard to put yourself in a position to be able to buy something, work even harder to make sure that you buy something that makes sense. Because if you go and buy one of these new, again, I'm going to talk myself about sales here, but you go and buy one of these new build flats, for example, you run the risk of losing money. So just be really careful and use the professionals.
Get an unpolished diamond.
But like, come and see us. Go and see any of your local estate agents. Find someone who you feel like gives you the right advice and ask their opinion on stuff.
Do estate agents come with the entire shebang? So, for example, if I come to you, I buy a house, would you recommend me some architects? Would you?
Yeah, we were. I mean, we always did, but now we've got we had to make sure our relationships were so key at the start. So we work very closely with Icon Architects, who are based down on Lettuce Street, and lots of other design and build companies, and making sure that we are recommending the right professionals to them, because it's an extension of us as well, really.
Correct. Yeah, it's your reputation in the middle.
100%. So yeah, we'll try and package it all up, because it also means we can sell the property in the best way if we have all the information to hand as well. Otherwise, we're just kind of chucking our finger in
Makes
there and
sense.
guessing.
So mine isn't really a question, but it's more like trying to tease something out of you, and you don't have to talk. You don't have to talk names but I read. It's in the home section of the Sunday Times. There's an estate agent, and they talk about sort of their week in property and what's happened.
Okay.
Obviously, it's all confidential. And I think it was stop-started for some reason a few years ago, but it's back and I love it. Is there a story where you sort of go, it's just the worst client we've ever had?
Oh, I bet you have some stories.
Like,
there.
Come on, there must be like a really good story.
Okay,
or something
us.
Really funny happened when you walked into a property, or something someone saw, or I don't know, something that you feel that you can
don't
talk
worry about that.
Do you know what? You see it all. You see it all,
Really?
To be honest. I don't know if there's one particular. I think we I don't know. I'm a bit stuck on that one, if I'm honest.
Oh, you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Nothing funny in Parsons Green? Something
Nothing that I
to
can
laugh
say.
at.
Nothing that there's definitely a couple that I want to say, but there's nothing that I can say.
Would people know if they will listen to it?
Yeah.
Now I want to know.
Yeah.
Can you not make the podcast and you tell us?
It's all right. We're just going to finish now and talk about it
Yeah,
later.
exactly. Guys, that's it. We cut it short, this one. Gosh.
No problem. I
No
think we've
problem.
fired enough
Yeah.
questions at you, so thank you so
No,
much.
no,
Very much
thank
for
you
having me. That was
so
lovely.
much.
It was just like talking amongst friends.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's the best thing? I've just discovered my partner in crime here is very into property.
Yeah, there we go.
No, I love
So,
it, yeah.
that's one thing I didn't know about her. So it's been very exciting. Before we wrap around our beautiful episode and having Charlie today with us, should we say thank you, Melinda, please, to all our lovely sponsors.
Absolutely. So
and our lovely technician over there. Thank you.
We always say a huge thank you to VOXPOD Studios, like hidden gems. Did you know that this existed? Yeah, in Parsons Green. So great for recording audio, podcasts, all sorts.
Producing music.
Yeah, music. And also a huge thank you to Fulham FC Foundation, who are podcast sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible. So we're very appreciative of their support.
Thank you so much for coming today, Charlie.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Charlie.
Appreciate it.